Hey everyone, welcome to the ninth episode of Bhavika and Laurisia's Chat Show. Today we have a very special guest with us, and his name is Ziv. Of course, who doesn't know Ziv Pellet? He's a great name in the customer success community, and he works as a chief customer officer at AppsFlyer. Hello Ziv, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're good. Thank you. So today, Ziv, we are very happy that you'll be taking us through a topic which is very new in CS. People really don't know much about customer success calculus, and we are really very excited to understand that what is CS calculus, how can a CSM actually take that kind of a benefit out of CS calculus, and how can it help us in our work. So over to you. We really want to understand your thoughts, ideas on CS calculus.
Cool. Maybe first I'll start with our bigger vision yeah, so I think I'm now in iTech for around 22 years. For the majority of my career, I was a account manager, customer success manager, individual contributor for the majority, and now for almost 8 years, now I'm a leader in AppsFlyer in B2B SaaS and as a leader for the first time. And also I climbed the ladder. So I did a very nice growth with the company from being a senior CSM to a team leader to an head of, and then I took also the support under me, and now the chief customer officer leading all regions and also representing customer success in the executive room. So first of all, I believe that the importance of what we've built over time here is the focus on the customer, and then thinking about how can we be customer obsessed, and then
Right.
how can we be actually that the customer obsessed is people obsessed,
Yes.
because when you obsess about employees
Yeah.
and then also about the customer and also about the partners, then you are people obsessed,
Right.
and this in the end it fuels customer obsessed.
Correct.
So I think that's super important. And then I think that when we ask ourselves these questions of what can we do for our customers, what
Mm.
should we focus on,
Yeah.
and then also think about like internally what we think about our company, we ask ourselves how proud are we to be working at AppsFlyer.
Hmm.
I think answering those two questions then even helps us focus even more on the right things that we need to do in customer success. And I always focus on that. And also when we'll get to the equation,
Yeah.
we always focus on the customer experience
Hmm.
and the customer outcomes.
Yes.
Or if you think about it, the customer experience, more of the value, usage,
Hmm.
relationship,
Yeah.
and on the customer outcome, maybe why did I even bought this solution? Why
Right.
do I need it?
Yes.
And then I think those two marry very well. I
Hmm.
think what we're focusing on in the last 2 years is how do you get more mature as a company.
Hmm.
Oh, we used to be four CSMs. We used to be a company of 20 people.
Yeah.
We are now a company of 1,300.
Yeah.
We are now only CS
Hmm.
without even support. We are 200.
Yeah.
Client services, all in all, is now 270 people. I think that the focus should always be the main focus, the high level
Hmm.
focus should be that value
Yes.
and outcomes, the value and relationships.
Hmm.
And I think what we are now focusing on getting more and more mature is how do we look at revenue?
Yeah.
How do we look at revenue optimization?
Right.
I think that COVID-19 definitely helped us focused on that and optimize. I think that that was very important for us, and it's really important for a company that really wants to keep growing.
Keep going. Yeah. Yeah. Also, one important thing, Ziv, you mentioned around being people obsessed, and if it's people, then of course it's employees also, and it's customers also. So I want to touch upon here on a question which is very debatable if we talk about the community. Do you should you treat your employees and your customers at the same level, or your customers should be at a better place than your employees? Like, what take do you have there if we compare customers and employees? Yeah.
It's a great point. I didn't write a post about it, but I wrote it in many comments. I always say it's all about the people,
Yes.
customers and employee is equal. And I really believe that it is. And by the way, if you think about that, when I got to be a chief customer officer, and maybe for sure in the last year,
Yep.
I meet customers, but very, I'll say rarely. I'll meet one customer a week, one customer a month, not a lot.
Yep.
My main role today is internal,
Yep.
and it shows like 80% of my time will probably be people.
Yes. Yeah.
And I also look at that, the framework of what I believe a customer success manager should build relationships with a customer
Yep.
is the same framework that I should work on building relationships
Yes.
with employees.
Right. That's
It's
very
equal.
right.
And
Right. Because if you
it's
treat
equal,
your
and we have
employee
a presentation about it in the leadership
correct.
training.
Correct. I definitely agree with you there, because if you treat your employees at the same level, they'll be the ones, they are actually your ambassadors for your company. So if they are happy, then at the end of the day, they'll be keep your customer also happy. And of course, it brings better customer experience, better relationships in place, which is of course any org would want that. So yeah, I
I,
definitely
I must add one thing here is that um, I understand the usage of the word happy customers or happy
yeah.
employees.
Mm,
I think that it's not the focus. So you think I'll take you for one extreme. So
yeah.
you can definitely find a person,
Okay.
doesn't matter if it's a customer or an employee, that I would not be able to change their state to happy. Maybe I cannot influence this
Mm-hmm.
because it's not always influenced by what you do from a vendor perspective or from an employer perspective.
Right.
So I think that the focus should not be, maybe the word is satisfied,
Yeah.
or maybe the word is actually more of things that are in transition. So I think that if an employee joined Appfire 3, 4 years ago,
Yep.
and they are now in a better stage,
Right.
they learned more, they developed more. I think that this is what
Right.
what we're looking for, also for customers.
Yes.
So I don't only want customers to work with my platform. I want them to get value out of
Mhm.
that. I want them to be better because of that. I want them to be more professional because of that. Think about what is B2B SaaS. It's usually it's a tool that helps you
Yes.
be more efficient, be more professional,
Hmm.
be more responsive. It helps us. That Slack helps us be more responsive and efficient.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
I think about it around that perspective, and I think that if a leader doesn't think about their employees like that,
Yeah.
then it will be not the best culture.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I agree. And also as if things that you were mentioning, it brought me to another point, which is called, I think, constant improvement. So as an employee, if I'm at a place right now, and 2 years down the line, if I'm with the company, I should see my growth. I should see my journey. This was when I joined 2 years back, and now I've gained these skills. I've gained maybe these soft skills, hard skills, whatever it is. But I've improved maybe as a person, maybe as a professional. That really depends. What things will make you happy or not, that's of course a separate question, but there should be an improvement as a person when you're there with the company, and that can only take place if your leaders, if your managers are concerned about your improvement, your growth too, like with respect to the company's growth as well. But employees growth, if will happen in right pace, then of course the company would also grow accordingly. So yeah, I agree with you there.
It's a very nice circle that like if a company's product is good,
Yeah.
and then it attracts good customers, and then the customers are being very successful,
Yes.
then the company will grow.
Yep.
Then there's more opportunities for the
More.
employees, because in the end, if we wouldn't grow
Yes.
to 1,300,
Yep.
then I would have a lot less opportunities
Mm.
for a lot less
Yep.
people, and then I
Right.
would not be able to hire talent or retain talent.
Right, right. Just to give an example to the audience here also. So for example, there are right now 200 people in an org. They are right now focused on the work, and they're doing everything with CS, sales, etc. Now, if it is increased to from 200 to 1,000, there'll be more people who will be joining us. There'll be more perspectives, more improvements, more ideas. So when you have such great ideas, like they always say, an idea is never good or bad. If you have an idea in place, it will definitely help the organization to grow better and in a much better manner. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Zev. Awesome. So and with
I'll give you one example here is
yep.
that we have around 50 leaders in client services and customer success and support. And I believe it's only 4 or 5 that I hired from the outside. So 45 out of 50 started as individual contributors, and some of them are now VPs.
Yeah, I think that is also really important. When your company grows, of course, it's also important to give the your employees who made it happen, the growth of your company, to give them the fulfillment and let them grow with you. Because sometimes in some companies, they keep the employees at the same level and they just hire outside for the higher positions, and that's really bad for the culture, and it gives you as an employee also bad feeling because you worked so hard for the growth and then you don't get to grow with them. So it's indeed the balance between customers and employees. It's people, yeah, exactly.
And by the way, it's not a discussion about career path and employees, but I think that it's important to mention that our focus, I can tell you that it's my focus at least for the last 3 or 4 years to develop people, to invest in them for equality and diversity. Over 50% of our client services are women, and also in leadership. And I must say, maybe I'm making sure that I'm saying that correct, but it's very important for me to say that maternity leave in AppsFlyer and definitely in client services does not stop you from developing your career. So you're not losing time or credit when you're away. By the way, even when we do comp updates, women on maternity leave, they still get the update, even if they are away, even if it's for a very long period.
We should start with the other rounds of this chat show. We have tried keeping it say, very chirpy, very jovial. So just be all hearts and be as open as possible. So I'll start with the first round, which is called the rapid fire round. We do not have a hamper to give it to you, of course, but yes, if we happen to visit Israel, maybe sometime in future after COVID, we would definitely be there to give you something. But for now, let's start with the rapid fire round. Over to you, Latte.
Okay. So yeah, maybe you can share the equation that Ziv has
yes,
created.
Yeah. Okay, it's there.
So here you see the customer success calculus, where value realization and customer experience together make business growth. So our first question is, how do you measure value realization in a quantitative manner?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, I think that it's a very specific question, and I think that the value realization, it's not something that many companies and customer success managers are doing well today. And it's because it's very complex. For me, I think that it's training and helping customer success managers to be more mature, to understand in a very good manner that the customer realize the value, that they understand the value.
For the second question, customer experience, can you measure that in a quantitative manner?
For sure. I think for customer experience and in general, for everything that we're speaking about, there's a lot of, this is why I love B2B SaaS, because there's a lot of data that we can measure. This way we have engagement and we have usage, and we can ask the customer and we can ask the CSM. And I think that the most important thing is, first of all, to collect as much as possible information. Then we need to validate that information, and then we need to find what works for us. So Some companies would work with NPS. I disagree, but NPS is there and we can measure it.
Yeah.
I think that there's other things. So when we measure NPS, we measure CSAT NPS. And then we ask also what is the most important product or feature that you're using and what is the list.
Yeah.
And I think that we get a lot of information from that. And even there, we have an open note for the customer to say, okay, also, if you want to expand about it, they write everything that you want. But we also look at the usage. The usage is very, very important. And we look at the cadence, the volume, how many times customers return. And then, even then, I think that the customer experience is still a little bit complex because sometimes in some product, it means that the product is really good, that the product is really important, it's mission critical. Some other products, maybe the product is not amazing, but it means that the service is really good and still valuable. So it always has to be valuable. But I think here, in the end, I think that it's really important to find the important data points that will be your milestones, and to then deep down on those, make sure, validate that the data is good, that you're getting the right data. Sometimes you're asking the right question, but not in the right cadence. Sometimes you're getting the right usage, but not in the right page or in the right measure. So sometimes you measure only once, but you need to measure the amount of times they used in order to get to the right median or average. It's really, really important, and it takes time. So for us, I'll definitely say it took 4 or 5 years to get to the right measures. But we didn't focus on we didn't focus on KPIs or goals. We focused on developing the measures.
Right. Here, Ziv, I also have a point to make. I think you mentioned a very interesting thing around data, because we are in SaaS, and the best thing about SaaS is, I agree with you that we have a lot of data points to actually analyze and give that back to our customers. But one thing here, which I feel is a CSM needs to take into account, is that not all data would be a right fit for your customer to see. We really need to differentiate, okay, this is something that needs to be analyzed or maybe worked upon, and this is something which should be not so given that kind of importance. So I think metric wise importance, or maybe knowing the correct data points to analyze your customer journey and then the account, I think that's really important as a CSM. Am I right there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe it's for a further question, but what I'm actually trying to show in this integral, in this graph, is that what I mentioned in the previous answer is that there's a lot of measures, a lot of things that you can calculate, a lot of things that you can put as a KPI.
Right.
But in the end, when you look at the graph of this integral, it shows you, okay, so I want to look for a period of 12 months from the sign to the renewal.
Right.
I want to look at the level of engagement. And I think that what fills the integral is the relationship and the desired outcome. So let's now find the specific things that we believe. Let's say I'll now give you an example that is very specific for our top tier customers, is that I want to have at least 4 relationships of the CSM with these top customers. And I want to achieve every 6 months at least 1 desired outcome. So for a year, I will want to find, design, and achieve 2 desired outcomes, and at least establish 4 relationships. I believe that this will yield the maximum value and engagement with this customer that will give us the best odds to get either a flat renewal or better. So no churn, no downgrade.
Awesome. Yep. I agree. I definitely agree with you there. Great. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so should the level of engagement when compared to the time at which the contract is signed and renewed be different, or should it be the same?
Yeah, so first of all, I think that it's very vertical related. So I think that for a company, a product like AppsFlyer, a high value, mission critical, daily usage, then we at least know that the customer should be engaged with the product, or usage, a better term, should be daily, at least for some of the users of the product. On the engagement level, I think that if it's a tier one customer, let's say an enterprise customer, then our focus, our interest is to engage with that customer at least once a week. Now, I don't think that we should do a check-in once a week, but we should have some kind of engagement once a week. It can be in-app, it can be email, it can be Slack, it can be WhatsApp, whatever. And it can be a call, and it should be there if it's valuable. It should not be a check-in. Should be, oh, we see that there's a focus of your, if I take a very positive scenario, that I know the goal of the customer, and I now, because I know the goal of the customer, then I can relate to it. I can work on that and say, oh, we see that you are 60% to your goal. Maybe we can help you with that, with doing that or doing something else. This is for already a very developed relationship that customer trusts us. They showed us their goal. Maybe they even showed us some of their challenges. And now we can think about how can we help them achieve their goals? How can we help them fix or overcome their challenges? And I think that should be the focus. And then you get a very, very good pace of engagement. Of course, there should be more engagement around the onboarding. Should be a lot of engagement around the renewal, but it's not. It doesn't mean that the renewal will be good if we will focus only on the onboarding and on the renewal. We should also do a QBR, and in this QBR, we should always improve our position. What can we do better? Is there someone additional that we should know? Should we engage with them? Should we develop a relationship with them? Did we achieve the first desired outcome?
Yeah.
Is it still achieved 6 months later?
Yeah.
Is there a new opportunity for a new desired outcome now, 6 months after the onboarding, 6 months before the renewal?
Yes.
If we now go into the renewal 3 months, 2 months before the renewal with one achievement, one desired outcome achievement, and one in progress, I think that we are in a very, very good position for this renewal to be successful.
Yes, I agree. The point that I loved there, Ziv, was that you should be connecting with your customer for valid points, and not just because you have to connect or you have to do a weekly check-in or a monthly check-in, because then you're going back to the customer without any reason. If you have good stats, good facts to go to the customer and share with them a story, or maybe help them out with something, some new product feature releases, or there's something new going on in the company, definitely go out, check with them, how are things, and that builds that relationship, which is very right. I definitely agree with you there. Some great points. So we're at the end of our rapid fire round, and I must say, Ziv, you've passed with flying colors. Thank you so much. But unfortunately, we don't have anything right now to give it to you. But yes, definitely, that's on me. I'll definitely make that up to you. Moving ahead with the next round, which is called the dilemma situation. Over to you, Lotte.
Yes. So yeah, as you can see with the customer success calculus, it's all about thinking long term, building relationships, and yeah, really build something strong and for long term. But sales, they usually need also short term success. So how do you reconcile those different needs?
Yeah, I think you touched right on the biggest dilemma of B2B SaaS. I think that if you think about that, if you look at the company and all departments, then it's really easy to take most departments and attach them and push them on a very long-term goal, which is very B2B SaaS, and it's good for the company. So, and usually I'll say NRR is one of the best approaches. I think that when you look at the sales department, it's the one department that's very hard to connect. Usually salespeople will have a very short-term goal of a new booking quota for the quarter. And I think that this is something that must be improved in the industry. And then, of course, also we're looking at that at AppsFlyer. I think that you cannot give someone a goal that they can overachieve it, and then that it can contradict to the long-term goal of net dollar retention or net revenue retention. I think that that's the biggest challenge in currently B2B SaaS, where I can now, as a salesperson, I can sign now a deal of $1 million, amazing deal, but that customer only needed the goods of $500,000, and then it's making sure that in a year we'll either have a downgrade, best case, or churn, and then the entire team that worked on this customer for 12 months now, the AE, sales manager, the customer success manager, onboarding manager, solution architect, everything that they've done, everything that we've put into this customer went to the drain 12 months after because of a bad new business sale. I think that what we can definitely do here is that looking at how we can connect sales not only, but also to long term, to look at the B2B SaaS equation, to look at NRR, to do what I call, it's very early stage, it's not a framework that is big yet, but I think that we should look at a very long-term framework of how this new business sale help the NRR, or if you think about it, it's NRR design. We need to design the NRR, and design NRR is not only to look at what we can improve sales, is what will be the best contract to sell here, what more products do we need, what new products do we need next year, the year after, what do we need customer success to be in order to be able to sell, or I'll use the Salesforce term here, what can we do in order to take all our enterprise customers and making sure that they will be customers for life. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And for that dilemma, if I can add one more thing, I think that bottom line, we need to make sure that everyone in the company works to one goal, that it will be fully aligned, and it's not something that you turn in a year. So it's probably will be a 2-3 year process. But in the end, I think that it will be very, very easy for a company to look at the growth goal.
Yeah, yep, awesome, yep. Definitely, it'll definitely take some time to like modify the current role of sales and make this long term. But yeah, if we work towards it, definitely it's not unachievable. That can definitely be achieved if we give this some time. I yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Zev. Awesome. The last round. We don't want to let you go, Zev, but unfortunately, this is the last round of this chat show, and this is the question of the day. This is in regards to this current equation on screen. Do you think this is the final equation, or this would be modified, or would have different additions or randoms, or what do you think? Is this the final thing?
It's absolutely not the final equation. So okay. I think that in the end, I think that if you think about it, this equation, or a lot of the things that I'm doing are, I'm trying to visualize things. And from the very exact things that I mentioned before, there's a lot of parameters, there's a lot of KPIs, a lot of measures in customer success, and even more in B2B SaaS. And in the end, you need to look at some kind of these graphs or equations in order to find the 2, 3, 4 areas that you really want to push. So in the end, relationships is built from many, 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 many things. But you need something very, very specific in order to make sure that you are getting the best outcomes from relationships.
Right.
It's same from desired outcomes. I think that desired outcomes will never change here. Value and the focus of value and desired outcomes will never change here. We will always work on optimizing what is the desired outcome. What is the definition of desired outcomes? And we are now in a process of working internally, but speaking the words of the customer in order to define the desired outcome, not any word or any name of our features or products, but what are they trying to achieve? What are they doing? And why did they select us in order to achieve that?
Right. Yep. I agree with you there. Awesome. Thank you, Ziv. Thank you so much for coming over the show, and we literally loved you having with us. Thank you for sharing so great insights, and I hope you loved it too.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.